Rock 30-06 here. Today I wanted to discuss bow options if you want to go bow hunting. Different products under $500. It's a $200 item. And they're great bows and they're good for hunting and stuff. So I just want to start this YouTube page just to reach out to people that are in the same situation as I was when I first started hunting. I'm a blue collar guy. I got a lot of expenses. A lot of people are in the predicament where they can't afford $1,000 for a bow or a rifle or a gun. People's budgets are 500 and under. So this is my video to help people that were in my situation that need some advice. And I want to also give some advice on different things to think about when you do buy a bow. So I'm going to educate people on the different types of bows there is. First off, we have what's called a crossbow, like this here. Now, this one here in particular is what you call a recurve crossbow. Now, there's also compound crossbows that have like cams like this on them. They usually go more feet per second. There's pros and cons of everything. With the cams, you usually get more feet per second. But if your string breaks or something in the field and you don't have a bow press, you're kind of stuck, right? But with these recurve style bows, if your string breaks and you're smart enough to have another spare string in your kit, you can just put that right on your bow when you're out in the field, and then you're up and running again. And if you're on a trip where you're up north somewhere and there's no place to get supplies and nothing accessible, and you're with your buddies, you're kind of screwed when you're up there for weeks. You can't even hunt anymore. You don't have a backup bow. So in the very least, if you have a string and it's a recurve, you can restring your bow and then you're up and running again. So some things to think about. Of course, with everything, there's always pros and cons. All right. So that's what there's a crossbow. There's what you call a compound bow, which this is it. This is a compound here. Okay. So this is what you call a compound bow. It has cams. Okay. So with the cam, you can pull the bow back, and what happens is you hit what's called a wall when you put it back, and it's easier to hold and sustain the weight of the bow from the draw weight. Also, we have what's called pin sights, so you're able to sight in your target, and what's called a peep sight, which is back here. Now here, we call it a D-loop. You put it on the glove, and it has like a trigger. You pull it back, and this is called your kisser button. You put it in the corner of your mouth, and that way you have the same anchor point all the time. So this is what you call a compound bow. So it's very similar in some ways to shooting a iron sight rifle with a rear and front sight. But of course, the shooting principles are different because it's a bow and it's not a rifle. But just put things in perspective. It's a great option for hunting. Most hunters use a compound bow. But also there's a lot of hunters using a crossbow. So, that's another option. Now, the more ancient traditional option from hundreds of years ago, and people still do it today, is what's called a recurve bow or a long bow. This one here is actually a recurve bow. Okay, I love this bow. It's 55 pounds. It's a Fleetwood, and for a person on a budget, you can buy a beautiful recurve or long bow, high quality, for under $200. The thing is, though, when you go with traditional recurve or long bow, a lot more practice involved with these bows. The thing is, you have to learn how to shoot instinctively. You can get like sights for these bows. If you're not going to go bare bow, you want to get sights, you can, but they're not as accurate as a compound bow. And again, a compound bow is not as accurate as a crossbow because crossbows have scopes on them. All of these you need to have practice if you haven't shot them before. But if you want to get in the game quickly, yes, crossbow is the quickest way to get in the game. Still need to practice, but you won't need to practice as much as you would if you were going to shoot a compound bow. And again, you wouldn't need to practice as much with this as you would with traditional recurve or longbow, because this is more instinctive. It takes a while to get to that point. This one here, as long as you follow the fundamentals and everything, and you practice and you get pretty proficient at it, you can go out hunting. So, I mean, as you go this way, it takes more training to get good enough to be able to hunt in the field. But as you go this way, things get more expensive usually. Well, actually, crossbows and compounds are about equal in price. Recurves, even with the high quality ones, are normally a lot cheaper than over here. So that's the options for bow hunting. There's so much to learn with bows, but if you're a beginner, and this is what this video is for, I'm not going to go into detail much more than that because it'll be over your head. But with these guys, again, remember, you can get a compound type bow, or you can go recurve with crossbows, and then you can get a compound bow, or you can get a recurve bow or a long bow. Okay, so those are your options when you go hunting. Now I'm going to tell you some products that you can look to get for hunting. Me personally, I did my research. I even talked to different bow experts at different shops, at Cabela's, Bass Pro, the little mom and pop shops, and when I was hunting for when I was searching for a crossbow, the one thing they keep telling me is 10 point and of course Excalibur. Now with 10 point, you're looking at way over $500 at the store level in Canada. The cheapest I've seen a 10 point bow, it was Blackhawk. It was $649 at an archery range, and their store at the archery range. At the store level in the United States, the cheapest I've seen was at a Cabela's and a Bass Pro, and that was the Rampage 360. It was going for $600. Now, if you go to 10 Point website, I've seen a whole bunch of bows that are in the 500 range. The Rampage 360 was going for $499. The Wicked Ridge Woodsman was going for $349, and the Blackhawk was going for $399. Those are US dollars. If you can purchase directly from them for those prices, and you want a compound style crossbow instead of a recurve like this, I definitely suggest going with 10 Point. Good product, great warranty that they stand by, and I would go that route. Now, if you want to go with Excalibur with a recurve system instead, the ones that are in the 500 range, the first one is the Grizzly. It's 305 feet per second here in Canada. You can get that bow for $500, and it weighs about 5.5 pounds, and it's a 200 draw weight. Now, the Matrix G340, I've seen that on sale all the time for $550 Canadian. Okay, and that goes 340 feet per second. It's 230 pounds of draw weight, and it's 5.5 pounds in weight. Now, for the extra $50, I would go with the Matrix, especially when it comes with the anti-dry fire mechanism that's in that bow. That in itself can save you a lot of headaches. If you accidentally did a dry fire, you're protected. You don't have to worry about your bow getting damaged. But with the Grizzly, it doesn't have that, so your bow can get damaged. So for the extra $50, my recommendation is, go $50 over 500 and buy the Matrix. What I came down to decide on was the Micro Mag 340. This is what I bought. It's a beautiful bow. It goes 340 feet per second. It's very accurate. I changed the scope on mine. I upgraded my scope because I wanted my sights to glow up so I can see the numbers and everything very easy. Because when you hunt first thing in the morning and you just have like the lower end scope, it's hard to see things. But when you get the higher end scopes, it's easier to see first thing in the morning and late in the evening. But I mean, the scope that comes with it, it's great as well. and that's something you can get later on that gets you in the game. So this bow here, I got it for 600 bucks on sale. They can go up to about $900. So that's something to think about. And then other bows that I got on my list here, but they're compound bows, is the Barnett Explorer XP, which goes 400 feet per second. The Centerport Sniper goes 370 feet per second. And other bows that I can recommend that are great is 10 point, of course, but now you're spending big bucks. But if you want a great warranty program and you want to have something reliable, and you know if something goes wrong with your bow, they're going to stand behind the product. No one's better than Excalibur, and no one's better than 10 point. My scope on this actually doesn't happen very often, but mine got moisture inside. I called up Excalibur. They said either you can send it in by mail, or you can come in person and exchange it. Because they were an hour's drive away, I came up there. Within 10 minutes, they gave me a new scope, and I paid some extra money. I actually upgraded to their top line, their top scope, and mounted onto my crossbow. So, I mean, that's how they stand behind their product. Within a week, if something goes wrong with your bow, it'll be fixed. When I was talking to people at the all the supply stores, they were telling me that other manufacturers, they're waiting for a month or two for the parts to come in to work on people's bows. But with Excalibur, within a week, they got the parts, and they can give back the product that's had some problems within 2 weeks. And the warranty is always transferable to a new buyer if you go to sell it. So that's another plus with these bows. Okay, so now moving on. I'm going to talk about compound bows. This one here is Cabela's Instinct Excite, made by Bowtech. Goes 338 feet per second. It's 3.9 pounds in weight, and it's 60 to 70 pound draw weight. Great bow. They used to go for $300. They're now going for $200 on clearance. That's Canadian. I mean, if you're on a really tight budget, this is the way to go. I've had this bow for 3-4 years now. I love it. It doesn't give me any problems. I mean, I had the string come off one time because I put the wax too high on the string one time. But for $200, this is an amazing bow. You can't go wrong. This bow here, when it first came out, I was told by the technician at Cabela's, was going for $700 when it first came out. And now you can get this amazing bow for $200. If you're on a really tight budget, I really, really suggest this bow. Okay, so this is the way to go. Now, you want like more of a modern bow that's coming out recently. The Mission MXR. Okay, it's a versatile bow. It can children and adults can use it. And the 7-inch brace height gives accuracy, and it's 324 feet per second. The draw weight is anywhere between 40 and 70 pounds, so obviously it has to be an older child that uses this. It can't be a young child. At 40 pounds, that's a pretty high weight. And then you got the Hoyt Clash. I've read up on that, and that's a 3.5 pounds in weight, and it's 300 feet per second. And that one, any kid or adult can use that bow, and it's a 15 to 70 pound draw weight. All right, and then of course there's Bear. Can't forget Bear Archery Threat, and that's a 60 to 70 pound, 330 feet per second. That one there, of course, only could be adults. You have to be pretty strong to pull back 60 pounds, but that's another option as well. Now, traditional recurve bows. I got one here, as I showed you before. Fleetwood's great. Bear Archery is another great product. Barnett, I don't know too much, but I've seen them around. Hoyt, they're all great. So any bow between 150 $200 when it comes to traditional recurve or long bows, you know when you're gonna get a good deal. Okay. Now, normally I'm talking for the average Joe. I'm not talking about you guys out there that can shoot, an animal from 80 yards with a compound bow. I'm talking about the average hunter here, and especially someone that's just getting into it. So for beginners and the average hunter, normally with a traditional recurve or longbow, your shooting distance is 20 yards. You want to be accurate, and you want an ethical kill. You don't want to wound the animal and then have the animal suffer. So usually it's 20 yards for a traditional recurve and longbow. Also, it's about, I would say, like it's recommended by our ministry, 45 pounds of draw weight for deer, 55 pounds of draw weight for moose. Okay, so I know that, some people say, you can get away with 35 pounds. Sure, but I'm just telling you, depending on where you're living, sometimes it's by law, it has to be 45 pounds for deer and 55 pounds for moose. So with compound bows, most people, their shooting distance doubles is 40 yards. For some people it's 50 yards. For me, it's 50 yards. I practice a lot though. I shoot at 50 yards. There's some other people I've seen on YouTube, they're shooting at 70 yards at game. I stick to 50 yards. That's what I'm comfortable with. It's all in your comfort zone of how good your skill level is. So for me, it's, like I said, 50 yards. Other people I've talked to, a lot of people I talk to is 40, 35 yards. Now, with the crossbow, usually they recommend 60 yards shooting distance. There's some people going 80 to 100. For me personally, I would maybe max out at 70, but I try to keep it around 60 yards for my ethical kill. So, I mean, it's all in your comfort zone. And when you practice on the range, you know what your skill level is. But keep in mind, if you're not a hunter and you haven't hunted before and you're getting into it, I'm telling you right now, your first time, your heart's going to be pounding. And you got to learn to breathe and control your breathing and calm yourself down. You might have the shakes. So what you normally shoot when you're at the range is not going to be the same when you start hunting until you get used to just having that adrenaline rush. So you could probably cut your distance in half sometimes for some people, depending on the person. So those are all the factors you got to think about. So yeah, that's pretty much my lesson for today for new hunters. And yeah, Rock 30-06, over and out.